So that's like the holy zone there. Good. Okay. So we are live now for our Israel Day presentation, and want to just one more time, if you're out in the I hear a lot of people in the fellowship area, but you're not in here in the sanctuary. Please come on into the sanctuary because we want to welcome out our first speaker here in just a moment. But I just want to thank you guys for being here today. As you know, we talked about the importance of supporting Israel. We're going to hear right now in just a moment from a special guest that's going to talk to you about the blessing that the Christian church has been to Israel. And then also we're going to talk about what we're doing here in Marietta Valley, the Temecula Valley, this area that we live in, what we're doing to help be a blessing to the Jewish people in our community, but not just a blessing to the Jewish people in our community, a blessing to the young people to help make sure that they get raised up knowing the truth about the Holocaust, remembering that this is something that truly did take place and how horrific it was. And you're going to hear how this church and how you in particular can be involved in making sure that the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation of the Valley is successful in getting their the memorial done right there at the city park in Marietta. But then also we're going to talk about the trip to Israel. We're going in March and real excited about that. I'm hearing a lot of noise out in the fellowship area. Please come in here to the main sanctuary so that way we can be prepared for our speaker. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker to you right now, and I want to say hello to everybody that's tuned in online for this. Glad you're with us today. We have a special guest with us, and I'm super excited to introduce him out to you today. I was introduced to him a couple years ago, and started bringing him on, doing interviews with him, and I just feel so blessed and so privileged to be developing an even further relationship with him. His name is Dr. Hilal Newman. He is the Consul General for the nation of Israel. He is he's the top diplomat from Israel here in America, and so we're very blessed to hear from him directly today. If you guys would, please help me welcome to the stage Dr. Hilal Newman.
Shalom, everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon. Thank you, Pastor Thompson. It's so warming to my heart to be here with you in this church, to see the wonderful flag and to see the small flags. It's so warming to my heart to know that we have friends here, and I know that you're true friends of the people of Israel and the state of Israel. And I respond with the same friendship and warming of heart towards you all. Thank you for joining. Pastor Thompson, I'd like to commend you and salute you for your leadership of such a wonderful community and a community of warmth and friendship towards the people of Israel. Thank you. I was asked to speak about why people should support Israel, but I'd like to start off with, I saw your words in the morning, and I'd just like to say that something about the relationship between Israel and the United States, or the uniqueness of Israel. And here you're promoting a tour to Israel, so I'd like to say that I proudly represent the state of Israel here in Los Angeles, California, and I can tell you that there is nothing like Israel. There's nothing like it. I've been to many countries, been to many states, but that unique blend of different religions coming together, of the old and the new, the antique and the modern, the antiquity where you walk the streets and you live the Bible. There's only one holy land, and that is the land of Israel, the state of Israel. So my recommendation to you is to join the tour and visit and see with your own eyes and relive the Bible and relive the history that is common to us all. One more remark is, only this year, Iron Dome batteries were deployed in the United States. Now let me say one word about that. Iron Dome batteries are the first capability to intercept missiles coming in mid-air. Israel uses them, unfortunately, very often because we have rockets coming in. But this is the first time that the United States of America has the ability to defend itself from incoming missiles, whether it be from Iran, whether it be from wherever. And when people ask me, well, what does the United States get out of the relationship with Israel? Then I say, first of all, Israel has no better ally than the United States. But the United States has no better friend than Israel. And out of all the countries in the world, the United States assists and gives benefits and gives assistance. Out of Israel, they get the strongest dividend, the strongest benefit. And everything that Israel develops is available for the United States. And now the Iron Dome batteries developed by Israel, Israeli technology, prevents any harm to American citizens. And that is our pledge, to be with the United States and to make sure that we keep American citizens away from harm due to our technology. I was asked to talk about, in a few minutes, why people should support Israel. So I'd like to answer that question in three realms very briefly. The first realm is theologically. The second realm is ideologically or morally. And the third realm is benefit. Now I leave benefit for last because that's the lowest level, right? We talk about interests between countries. There are always interests. There's always a meeting of interests, but we're not here for our own self-benefit. We're here for the moral aspect, okay? So let me address why people should support Israel in these three realms, and start off with the theological realm. My friends, Israel is the land of the Bible, as I said before. It's a miracle state. And if you come and you visit Israel, you'll see this miracle come true. And as Pastor Thompson said this morning, there is no other story of a nation returning after 3,000 years of exile and rekindling their sovereignty, rebuilding their nation, and even recreating the language of Hebrew, the biblical language. There is no other example. And if this is not divine guidance, then what is? My friends, you know, the prophet Zechariah prophesied that one day the people of Israel will return to the land of Israel. And one day the elderly will sit in the streets of Jerusalem, and the children will play in the streets of Jerusalem. And he said this in one of the darkest periods of time in the history of the people of Israel, when they were all spread in diaspora with no real communities, and no one believed it would come true. And today it's a reality. These prophecies have come true in our time. So if this is not divine guidance, then what is? So on a theological level, I just say that we are both built on the Christo-Judean values. We stand together and uphold these values. If not us, then who? So, on a theological level, I would say that there is also a Holy Trinity. I know that in Christianity there's a Holy Trinity, but I talk about a Holy Trinity in Judaism, which is the Trinity of the people of Israel, the land of Israel, and the Bible. The people of Israel brought the Bible to all humanity. And this eternal book is what guides us also in our connection to the land of Israel. With all the different persecutions and exiles, there was always a Jewish presence in the land of Israel, because that is the promised land promised to Abraham. Second level I'll address is the ideological or moral level. In that aspect, I would say that it's the right and just thing to do. Because we uphold together the same values and we cherish the Christian community, we should stand together. I'd like to tell you that in the entire Middle East, the only place where the Christian communities grow and prosper is in Israel. The Christian communities in Israel have grown in numbers and have full freedom and prosperity. You cannot compare that to any other country in the Middle East. So we care about you. So perhaps also you should care about us. We are your ally and we stand together. And I heard Pastor Thompson say this morning that Israel is on the front lines. I'd like to expand on that in one sentence. That today the world is split between moderates and radicals. It's not between Jews and Muslims or Christians and Muslims. It's between moderates and radicals. And Israel is on the front line of these radicals. We have Hezbollah in the north, in Lebanon, and we have Hamas in the Gaza Strip. And you also have your enemies, unfortunately, which are our common enemies, these radicals. And Israel stands on the front line, upholding the ideology of the United States and Israel. And as was said this morning, we may be the small Satan in the eyes of Iran and the radicals, but the United States is the great Satan. So we stand together in the same boat with the same risks and the same threats. Lastly, on the level of benefits, Israel has brought to the world in its short re-establishment since 1948 so many good things. Your cell phones, medical devices, just about everything you touch, your computers, everything has some Israeli technology in it. You know, we've signed Abraham Accords over the past year with 4 additional Arab countries, which is normalizing relations with countries that refuse to recognize the existence of the State of Israel for more than 70 years. And if you ask, why did they come forward now? They came forward because they understood that Israel has benefits for them. Israel is a global leader in innovation in other fields, which can be of benefit to them. And with this aspect, I will end also with the blessing of Genesis, which said that those, which Pastor Thompson mentioned this morning, those that bless Israel will be blessed, and those that curse Israel will be cursed. So we just need to hear the Bible, see the miracles that are in front of us, in front of our eyes, understand that we stand together, we face the same enemies, and understand also the benefits that can come from Israel. I know that it takes courage. It takes courage to choose wisely. Pastor Thompson mentioned this morning different schools of thought that preach against the relations with Israel. And you may ask, why is there so much hatred abundant against Israel? And I'd like to answer that on a more theological level. And just say that, you know, for us to receive our reward and punishment, we have to have freedom of choice. And we have to choose. We have to make that choice between what is right and what is wrong. If we don't have that choice, we cannot be rewarded for our choice. So it is placed before every single one of us to choose wisely. And those that choose with Israel, choose the correct interpretation of the Bible, choose the correct path of walking with the people of Israel. They are those that choose right and are then rewarded with the blessings of the people of Israel. Those that choose wrong, unfortunately, there are those out there, and we even have members of Congress who sometimes speak against the relationship with Israel. We understand that they have chosen wrong in life. And that is what is placed before every single one of us, to choose wisely and just. For that reason, evil will always be out there. Enemies will always be out there. Anti-Semitism will always be out there. Hatred of Israel will always be out there. Bias against Israel will always be out there. And that's why it is for us to choose what is right and just. Pastor Thompson, your church is a leading factor in the choice of what is just and right in life. And for that, I salute you and the community. Thank you.
All right. So grateful to have Dr. Newman here with us today. And you're going to be available after we're done to say hello to some people. So I want to encourage you, go up, shake his hand, give him some encouragement, take a picture with him, post it out, and show your love for the nation of Israel. I want to invite up somebody else now, somebody I've known for quite some time. Did ministry with him overseas, traveled the world with him, and now he is spearheading what is taking place right here in Marietta, the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation of the Valley. Please welcome up today, Randy Denham.
Well, first, thank you, Pastor Tim, for the invite, for 412 Church allowing me to come and share. It's a blessing for us to be here. 412 Church has been a strong supporter of the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation really since its inception. I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of years we did the March of Remembrance from here. It was a great opportunity. So our board is blessed and thankful that you are receptive to what we are wanting to do. Dr. Newman, your words and your devotion to Israel and to the Christian community, we receive and are blessed by it. Thank you so much. I've heard you a couple of times, and all I want to do is give you a standing ovation. So thank you. You know, telling the truth has lost its importance and its accompanying integrity, hasn't it? When over 63% of millennials and Gen Z generations, according to surveys, don't even know the number of Jews that were murdered in the Holocaust. And on top of that, they don't even know what Auschwitz is or what happened to Auschwitz. We have a large truth gap and a large task before us. Because without telling the truth, people will not know what took place in the Holocaust. To educate our youth and quite honestly tell the truth about the Holocaust demands a concentrated effort and a plan. That is why the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation of the Valley was organized over 9 years ago. And during that time, initially, it was just to have the March of Remembrance to remember survivors and their families to come alongside. And then just a few years ago, our founder, Mr. Jack Flanoy, who has gone home to be with the Lord, he had a vision to build a Holocaust memorial here in our city. Now, that's something extremely important to us. And the reason that it becomes important to us is that it provides a setting where exposure and education about the Holocaust and anti-Semitism could be acknowledged. Jack has gone on to heaven, but the vision continues. And the board of directors, and I have Mr. Irv Micklin with me, who's on our board desires to see the Holocaust Educational Memorial constructed because it's not only educational, but it's truth-telling. And as we understand, truth-telling is something that is essential in today's world. Not just our community, but in the world. And so we want you to understand that as we desire to go forth and construct the Holocaust Educational Memorial, we're going to need your help. We're going to need your help because it's going to help us tell the story of the Holocaust. It's going to allow the youth to come in. And again, because the youth don't even know how many people died because of the Holocaust, we have a big task before us. And while it's an Israeli responsibility, I'm going to be honest, it's a Christian responsibility. Because God has called us to come alongside of Israel. And because you're sitting here, I think you have some of that. But we're small. We need to get that word out. Isn't that true? The trauma of the Holocaust it doesn't just go away. You know, it's like grief. Emotions surface, and they come back, and survivors and those that have a story, it needs to be told. So now with anti-Semitism continuing to rise again, a study was shown that between the years 2020 and 2021, a 34% increase in anti-Semitism events has taken place. Now that's a year ago. And what I'm reading now, it's even increasing more. So the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation of the Valley is a joint effort from the Christian and the Jewish community to say, never again. Never again will the atrocities of the Holocaust be allowed to attack God's chosen people. And we know who God's chosen people, because as Dr. Newman shared and Pastor Tim shared, we know it from the Word. And because the Word tells us that, we should believe it. There is nothing infallible, as Pastor Tim taught this morning. So the Holocaust Educational Memorial has completed the groundwork to build the memorial at Town Square Park in Murrieta. We have the property, we have plans that are completed, they're approved, and they're ready to be pulled from the city to build the memorial. You had the ability to see the model outside. We don't have that now, but I have some brochures if you would like to see that. But now, after COVID, we have the opportunity to start doing fundraising again. And that fundraising is obviously an essential part. In order for us to construct what we want to construct, I'm going to be honest, we need your help. 412 Church, Pastor Tim has it at their heart to help build this memorial, but I'm going to ask you to do that as well. Oh, I'm not going to take a collection just now. Although Pastor Tim said I could run through the aisles, but I'm not going to do that. But I want you to know that we have to partner. We have to get the word out. And that's one of the things that we want to do. So let me tell you, we've got a concert that we're beginning to develop. It'll come in October. A band that we know is playing at the Hollywood Bowl in July is going to be coming. They have several Grammys, and so we're going to be producing that. And we want you to hear about that and come. Support us, because that's going to be one of our fundraising opportunities. We also, and you can see that on the model, not just now, but on the brochures, we're doing a sponsorship of panels that tell the story of the Holocaust. And it tells the story, and so each panel can be sponsored. 412 Church was the first to grab the sponsorship, and their sponsorship says, "Out of despair, hope." And that is another way that we're doing and fundraising. The other things that we are doing is we're planning to focus and get our name out there, because if people don't know who we are, they're not going to give to us. And so we've got a plan to be able to get our name out there. So I'm going to challenge you. Look for the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation of the Valley. Look for the Holocaust Educational Memorial. And when you see it, don't just write a check. You can do that. But tell other people about it, because the more people that get involved, the more connected we are with what we're attempting to do. You can be a part of that. We want you to be a part of that. We don't want just large corporations. We want individuals, because it says that you are backing what the Holocaust Memorial is supposed to do. And that's to do what? To tell the truth. And that's what we want to do. It is our desire to do that. I will tell you that we're about 25% of the way to funding the Holocaust Memorial. 75% we have to raise. And so, because COVID shut us down, we're now in that place where we can go out there and be aggressive, and we're going to do that. While it seems like it's been a long and difficult project, and it has been, I believe in this project. I believe in Israel. And what the Lord said, and now Pastor Tim and Dr. Newman. We've all used the scripture out of Genesis 12:3, but it's an essential scripture because I believe it's a covenant with us that if we bless Israel, Israel and God will bless us. That's a covenant, I believe. I believe that God wants his people, his promised land supported. And so we all have that opportunity to do that. The Holocaust Educational Memorial is one way that I believe that we can be blessed and come alongside of Israel. The Educational Memorial is an essential project. And so I'm asking you this morning, giving you information. If you want more information, you can get a hold of us at hrfv.org or see me and I'll give you a card. We want you to be a part. God has something special with this Educational Memorial because it's not only going to bless Israel, we know that the educational realm around our valley will go and look at what has happened at the Holocaust. So it's not only essential to tell churches, it's essential to tell schools and the general public. God bless you. Remember the Holocaust Remembrance Foundation of the Valley. We desire your support. God bless.
He spoke of Pastor Jack Flournoy, who passed recently, and that was definite loss to our community. He's been here, I don't know how long he was here, but gosh, since I was a kid, he'd been in this valley, and it's always been a blessing to see what God has done with him and through him here in the valley. It was interesting, when the March for Remembrance was starting, there was a trip going to Israel. Pastor Jack was supposed to lead that trip as the pastor running, every trip you have a pastor that goes and kind of talks at each of the locations. And he couldn't do it because it was at the same time that the March of Remembrance was going to be. And so the man who was setting this all up, Nadav Joshua, he reached out to his rabbi and said, hey, do you know any pro-Israel pastors in the valley? He said, well, the only guy I know personally is Pastor Tim Thompson. Talk to him. And I ended up going on that trip, leading that trip for them, and developing a really good, strong relationship with my new friend, Nadav Joshua. So I'd like to welcome him up right now. So please welcome Nadav. All right, I'm going to stay up here with you.
Sure.
If that's okay. So Nadav grew up on kibbutz. He'll talk about that maybe a little bit, but he is the one who's setting up this whole trip. If you're interested in going with us, I hope you are, in March. So a little bit about yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Israel, and I say that's why I talk funny, but most of you can understand me, so that's good. It was very different growing in the early days of Israel when there wasn't much there, and we grew up on a kibbutz, which actually was pure socialism. We had no God. We are actually anti-God. And it's much later in life that you kind of say, well, something here is missing. So you guys found it a lot easier, a lot faster, and that's a good thing. Dr. Newman, thank you so much for your kind words and inspiring. And hopefully all of you will join us and see what the Holy Land has to offer and what Israel actually is. I would like to share with those who are actually going to go on the trip, and I will be going with you. I've done previous trip with Pastor Tim Thompson, and I can assure you, nobody relates the Bible to the places where we're going to walk and to yourself as you take this journey. It's an amazing experience. What I have to offer is my experience myself as growing up in Israel, serving in the military, knowing every inch of the country pretty much. It's a small country. It's the size of New Jersey pretty much. That's it. So we can cover it. I wish 10 days would have been enough, but it's not. But that's the best we can do. So you will see a lot, and it will be a long day from morning till night because we're trying to see as much as possible. And if you have any questions whatsoever on the trip itself or what's involved, what it takes, then I'd be happy to answer.
Yes.
It's March
The question, I
4th.
want to repeat the question because we do have an online audience. A lot of people couldn't be here, but they're tuning in. So the question is there an exact date for the trip?
The exact date is March 14 to the 24. And everything is being deposited and secured, so we're not going to feel any inflation in the prices for the flights or for the tours or for the hotels or anything. So everything is set. All the information is on 412 Church website and also on Love to Travel with the number 2, LOVE number 2, travel, lovetotravel.com. That's our company, and we're putting tours to Israel, and all the information is there. And you can sign up and you can choose your own payment plans. And if you, for some reason, sign up and decided not to go up to 60 days prior to departure, you get all your money back. Nothing is held back. So sign up.
Yes. I love that question. The question is, do you need a vaccination? I knew that was going to come up. Dr. Newman knows this. I've been talking with him for the last 2 years, and every time I visited Dr. Newman, the first question I had was, when are we going to not need vaccinations to get into Israel? And so, no, right now, you don't need one. They had a requirement on that. The requirement is no longer, and now, at least for right now, you don't need a test to get back into the United States. So that was kind of one of the things was you can go without it, but then it was weird because you could cross our southern border and no problem. But then as a U.S. citizen to fly back to our own country, we had to test. So that has gone away now as well. Because you know me, if we had to get that to go, I wouldn't be going. So yeah, that's not a requirement anymore, thankfully.
And that's, by the way, that's only with the last couple of days that the test prior to coming back to the United States is no longer necessary.
Right.
So if we were in Costa Rica about 6 weeks ago, we had to get tested before we could fly back home. We wouldn't be able to board the plane to go home here unless we got tested and had the proof that we're clear to go.
So
It's
Karen,
gone.
yeah. So yeah, the question is, what do you need to get into it then is you need insurance, COVID insurance. That is a requirement, and that is something that you can get on the website, lovetotravel.com.
Correct. Now, we actually have a small group going soon, and we actually paid in advance to have everybody tested before they fly back home, that now they're not going to need it. So it's a few months away. Hopefully, that will not be necessary. But right now, Israel requires you to have some kind of an insurance policy that cover COVID, mainly to cover the hotel costs in case you have to stay for a few more days until you test negative again and can fly back home.
Yes. The question is, when you're booking through lovetotravel.com, do you have to utilize them for your airfare? And the answer to that is no. I'll let you explain in a second, but the answer is no. Both, the price is separated out. There's the trip, which includes all of your breakfast, all of your dinners, all of the bus travel around, entrance to all the different locations. It includes everything except for your lunch and your souvenirs and your flight. So you can book your flight through them, or you can do it on your own.
Absolutely, yeah. You can purchase your own airfare. You will have to make your own way from the airport to the hotel, because we will meet you and greet you as you land in Israel. We'll help you, take you through the immigration and make the process very easy and very fast. And then we'll take you in a bus through a little tour to your hotel. If you make your own arrangements, which is completely fine. If you want us to help you with an extension tour to Jordan, to anywhere else, we'll be happy to help you with that also. You're welcome to do your own.
Yes.
How large will the party be, and would it
So the question is, how large is this group going to be, and should we expedite it with a global entry pass? So the answer to how large it's going to be, we're planning on at least 80. That's the thought.
Okay, at the moment, we already deposited for 80 spots in Israel. So that's confirmed. The price is confirmed and will not go up. That's what it is. It's on the deposit. What was the second question?
The question about the global entry.
The global entry is totally an individual decision, and it helps you get through the security checkout when you check in to go the process, and when you come back, instead of having to stand in line for your passport checkup, you just scan your passport and move on. So I would highly recommend it. It's cost about $100 for 5 years, and some people who have the right credit card will pay for that, like American Express, like Venture Capital One will actually pay for that in their, it won't cost you a thing. So I would highly recommend to do it if you're planning to do any travel out of the US, including Mexico.
Yeah, the question is, where are we going to leave from? And the answer is LAX.
LAX, yeah, Los Angeles.
If you book your flights and go with the whole team, that's through United, right?
It is United, yes. United Airlines. And
One sec, her and then you.
the actual stop is going to be in New Jersey, and from New Jersey straight to Tel Aviv. And we'll have the details I'm pretty sure it's already on the site. If not, we'll have it very soon. So the time of the flight, the exact legs of it, everything will be on it.
Your question, like with me personally, I'm going to be getting there a few days before you guys. So, no. Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm going to be there a few days ahead. I want to get there and get acclimated because I'm going to be teaching like every place we go to, I'm teaching. So I don't want to be dog tired. Like I want to be able to be on my end game. I really want you guys to enjoy this experience. And one of the cool things, like we'll all teach at all the places we go to, but then at the end of the day, we go back to the hotel room. You go into the hotel, you get your nice meal. It's wonderful meals there that's included in the price of the trip. But a lot of people, they're either tired and like, okay, I'm going to bed, or they're like, I want to do something. I can tell you, we'll do something. Like I'll go, like I don't like sitting in a hotel room. I'm going to go out to Ben Yehuda Street. I'm going to go do something fun. We're going to have fun. So once the tour is over, the tour ain't over. We're going out into town and we're going to enjoy ourselves. And it really is a blast. There's a lot to do in Israel.
And we know the right places to go.
Yeah. Yes. You and then you. Yes. When is the last date to sign up?
The last day to sign up is really if we have space or not. I would highly recommend for those who are interested, because I'm not sure what's going to happen with the prices. This economy as we stand right now, it's just unknown. So we actually went ahead and deposited for 80 people because we didn't want to take any chances. We want to make sure that the price that we do announce now, it's on the website and on the brochures, will be the price. So I would recommend to lock yourself in with a deposit. And like I said, if you decide for whatever reason, we're not going to ask you why, but if you decide that you cannot make it for whatever reason, everything is refundable up to 60 days prior to departure.
Yes. Yes, if you get a family member, the question, just so that for our online audience, if you have a family member that lives somewhere else and they want to join us, can they join us and fly in? Yeah.
So absolutely yes, and that's one of the reasons that we use this specific flight, because it's out of New Jersey. So he can catch the flight in New Jersey and join us for that leg. Again, still, if you're from anywhere else and you decide to make your own flights, the only thing is you will have to make your own way to the hotel, but it's available. Otherwise, we can help you get a flight to Los Angeles and you can fly with us.
Yes. question is about tips. Do you have to tip? And there is definitely, there's tips for the porters, tips for the guide, and tips for the driver. And all of that is given to you ahead of time, and you're told like how much to plan for on that. Yes.
Same as here.
Somebody was concerned about that. Like, why would you go in March? It's raining. 6 of my trips have been in March, and I never got rained on it. So the thing is, the reason why I like to choose March is because it's after winter, it's springtime, everything is in blossom, it's beautiful, it's not hot, it's not too hot yet, it's beautiful. March, I mean, we went in March.
I truly believe that March is probably the best time to go.
It's beautiful. When you see all the red flowers, what are they called again?
Kalaniot.
You can't pick them.
and,
Don't pick them. You'll be in trouble. But
Yeah.
they're beautiful, and they're in blossom everywhere. It's beautiful. Yes. Do you need any paperwork other than a passport?
No, the only thing you really need is a passport. And I would highly recommend for those who don't have it, start the process. If you expedite it, it could take 3-4 weeks. If you don't, it could take 8 weeks. But plan for it. Get it well in advance.
The price. What is the price?
The price for the tour itself is $3,260. No, it does not include the airfare. And again, we're separating it to allow people to have their own choice if they want or join in different places.
We got her, and then we'll come back to you. Yes.
Insurance is, the question is, do you have to have or does it include insurance? Insurance is really individual thing. So we have on our site a way to purchase the travel insurance, and you can decide, for example, we're going now and we're really not concerned that much about the price of the trip so much. It's like, okay, I want small premium just for the worst case. Then you can say, my trip cost $1,000, and then your premium will be a lot lower. If you want to cover everything, you can say $5,000, and then it'll cover $5,000 as far as trip cancellation. But most travel insurance, you need to know that, it's a good thing to know, is it's up to you to decide what is the cost that you want to cover when you book a trip. And you can say 5,000, you can say 1,000, it's up to you. And the premium goes directly according to the price that you decide to put in there. So if you want to secure that you make everything back in case something happened to you, then yes, put the full price. But if you're only concerned about medical issues, if something happened while you were there, or if you lost your luggage, it doesn't make any difference if the price of the tour that you entered in is 1,000 or 5,000.
Yes. So the question is, what about the single supplement on the website? If you go there, you'll see it's like 1,000 and what did you say, 1,095? 1,175. So what is that single supplement?
Okay, we book hotel rooms for 2 people. If you desire to have the hotel room for yourself alone, then you will have to pay the single supplement. That means you're not sharing the hotel room with anybody. But most of the time, people share, so.
Yeah, usually if husband and wife go, you share, or sometimes, brothers will go on a trip, or sisters will go on a trip, whatever. You may be a single person go, well, I want to go, and I don't want to go alone. Well, we're going to have a lot of people that may be in that situation, and we can pair you up if you're 2 ladies or 2 men. We're not going to pair up a man and a woman. It's just not going to happen. But, you may be in that situation where you're like, I want to go, I don't want to be alone. Can you find somebody to go with me? And we'll help try to find that person for you. Yes.
No.
Right. The question is, do you have to wear a mask there? And I'm talking to people that just got back from there. They said practically nobody's wearing one. Yeah. Good question. Kids go. Go ahead.
We don't accept any kids in Israel.
I'll tell you what.
Our life, our belief, everything is about the kids.
Yeah. If you have kids that want to go, I highly recommend that you bring them. It is incredible. I brought kids, we've had kids with us, and
8 years old.
8 years old, yeah. We had an 8-year-old. I'll tell you what, my daughter was on that trip with the 8-year-old on the trip. My daughter's like, oh, she is awesome. She's like better than the adults. Like some of the adults were driving her nuts, and she's like, this person is so good to travel with. She had the best, out of all of the questions, she had the best questions. She was so inquisitive. She was so excited to learn. It was incredible. I highly recommend it.
I think it's the same question as, would you bring your kids to church? It's exactly the same. It's more important for your kids to be here than for us to be here. No, absolutely. Kids are...
My granddaughter's 5 months, and she's going. I mean, just bring kids. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. They'll have a blast. It's so much fun. It really is. I saw a hand. Yes. Yes. Do you have to have transportation to and from LAX? Yes.
The flight that we have booked includes one large luggage, 50 pounds, and the carry-on and a personal item. I highly recommend not to take more than that. If you do, of course you can. It'll cost you a few more dollars to take a second suitcase. The airline on the website, every airline is different, have their own, but it's more or less standard these days. And the carry-on is pretty much, if it fits up on top, it's okay.
It depends. Like if you're flying El Al or you're flying United, you just have to look and see, and it'll give the actual dimensions, and just check your dimensions before you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Oh, are we going to do a baptism when we're there? Absolutely, we are. Yes. Chuck Smith, he built the what's Yardenet? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yardenet.
Okay. I'm learning. Thank you. But anyways, yeah, we're going to go there. It's at the Jordan River, and it's not the exact place that Jesus was baptized, but nobody knows the exact place that he was baptized. But it is at the Jordan, and it's a beautiful setting. It's a great place to go. There's a lot of people there, and even if there's some people, they've been baptized before, but they just want to get baptized in the Jordan. You get a certificate and everything. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. Yes.
Yeah, to piggyback on that question, can you give us maybe 1 or 2 examples of some of the stuff we're going to be doing?
I'll handle that one. Yeah, so question, what are we going to be doing? We're going to see some incredible places. You're going to see where Elijah called down fire from heaven and challenged the priest of Baal. You're going to see where Paul appealed to Caesar at Caesarea Maritime. You're going to see where Peter declared that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God at the Banias. It's Caesarea Philippi. You're going to stand on the Temple Mount and look to the east and see the Mount of Olives and see the gate that's called Beautiful, standing on a piece of bedrock, knowing that the Messiah is going to come from the east. You're going to walk the Via Dolorosa, the Stations of the Cross. You're going to you're going to walk into the garden tomb, the tomb that Jesus was in. You're going to go into it and see that it is empty. You're going to have communion there in the garden. You're going to go down to the Dead Sea and float in the Dead Sea. You're going to go to where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found at Qumran. You're going to walk out to the springs in En-Gedi, where David wrote many of the Psalms. I mean, this trip is incredible. You're going to stand on top of Masada, where Rome came and battled against the Jews, their last stand there, and see where this took place. You're going to be all over the Galilee. You're going to be in Capernaum, Jesus' town. You're going to stand on the top of Tel Megiddo and look out to where the Battle of Armageddon is going to take place. You're going to be at Magdala, where Mary Magdalene is from, and see an incredible Incredible synagogue where they found what's called the Jerusalem stone. It's incredible. I mean, you're going to see so many things. Yes. Yeah, Garden of Gethsemane. You will be in the Garden of Gethsemane. You'll walk where Jesus came in on Palm Sunday. You'll stand there, and the olive trees that are there are the same olive trees that were there when Jesus was sweating out blood and saying, "Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done." You're going to stand there, and it's the same trees that were there. It's beautiful. It's intense. It's like you want to weep when you're there. It's yeah. Yes. Yes. It's kind of like the free day is just go and have fun, go do what you want to do. Some people want to go shopping in the old city. There's so many things you can do on a free day. I recommend not just going shopping. I'm a guy, we don't like to shop, we just buy stuff. But
there's so many places.
There's so many things. There's so many things to see. I would go and have fun and do some incredible things. We have time for one more question because we have to move along for the Consul General. So one more question, and maybe you can stay and answer some more questions.
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
I'll be here.
One more question. Yes. Okay, the question is, do we have time to go to Bethlehem? We don't have Bethlehem on the tour. There's a very specific reason for it. Of all the trips I've gone, I've only gone once. I'm not impressed that you have to go through security. It's I wasn't at ease there personally in Bethlehem. That's my own personal thing, and so I just don't bring groups in there. If you want to do that, if that's just something you're so insistent on doing, you can talk to them, see if that's something they can add to it. I just don't bring groups there. I don't see great benefit in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
something that he can
there's
bring up.
quite a detailed itinerary on the website, so you can see day by day what we're going to do. Of course, it's subject to changes according to different things that can happen, and Pastor Tim Thompson knows very well what he wants to do, so he makes his own decisions last minute also sometimes. But as far as the last day, a lot of things you hear or you've seen a place and you say, I got to get back to it. So we're finding that a lot of people have something in their head already after going through the tour that they really want to go to a specific place to take more pictures or to spend more time or whatever it is.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, and I'll be available
Nadav's going to
anytime.
hang out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in online to this. Hope you'll join us in March in 2023. God bless you. Thank you so much, you guys. All right.